As you know, on this program we have guests, and I'm really pleased to tell you that this week is no different. We have our Executive Director of Finance, Dave Tomlinson even. Apologies for that, Dave. Thank you for joining us, Dave. How are you?
I'm cool. I'm good.
Yeah, so I see, and you gave me a bit of a fright, of course, but I'm really glad you were able to join us, and thank you for joining us. Just to tell you a little bit about Dave, I know firsthand that he's a major, major football fan. And when I say he's a major football fan, because real football really happened in the 70s and the 80s, where you have the likes of... he's a Leeds fan as well, I have to tell you that.
It's not the same, is it, Beresford? Yeah.
No, but in the 70s and the 80s, to be fair, when you're talking football and Leeds, that's a big deal. I say that as a Tottenham fan, okay?
Oh dear.
Just to let you know, right? So we're talking Martin Chivers, Alan Gilzine, Ralph Coates. Yeah? I'm sure. See, I knew that would make you smile. Ralph Coates, he played on the left wing.
More Bobby Charlton, Ralph Coates.
Absolutely. They went to the same barber, had the same hairstyle. So it's really good to see you, and thank you for joining us. And I've told you that he's a football fan, but also I hear he has some ferocious cats. I don't know where that came from, but I hear you've got some ferocious cats, so we're going to talk to you about that. But he's also responsible for the finance in one of the biggest mental health trusts, certainly in the region. Big, major responsibilities, some major things happening in terms of commissioning services, new partnership working with the ICB and other partners. So we're going to talk about all of those things in the short time that we have, Dave. So it's really good to have you. And let's just start really as we always start with our senior exec managers. Just a little bit about yourself, Dave, just to ease us into the conversation. Just to let you know, we might get some phone calls today, and if we do take some phone calls, we'll answer them together. So 0121 772 8892 if you want to speak to our Executive Director of Finance, Dave Tomlinson, who's going to be with us for the next hour. So Dave, just a little bit about yourself and your career pathway before we go further.
Okay, well, I'm actually born in Stafford, so I'm only born about 20, 30 miles away. I spent a lot of time in the private sector, so worked locally at GEC when I was at Stafford, went down south in about 85 and spent a number of years down south before coming back up north, as I saw it at that stage. So I'd worked for, among others, Sony, Decca Records, Daily Mirror. I came back up to the north in 1988 when I worked for Bupa in Manchester. And then in 1996, I was looking to get a role as a finance director. And at that stage, the NHS was going through establishing trusts. And I was fortunate enough to get a role as a finance director in a small mental health and community trust in Preston.
Yeah.
About 5-6 years, and by this stage I was already an accountant, fully qualified accountant. I qualified as an accountant mid-80s, went down south, spent time down there, and then came to start the real work. So I was at Bupa till about 96, then got into the NHS, as I said, in Preston, mental health and community in 1996. Spent about 5-6 years there. In 2002, that's when there was quite a lot of organisational change. So they were splitting organisations up like that one. And at that stage, they created local commissioning organisations called primary care trusts. And the trust I was in split two ways. So the community mental health services went into the primary care trust, Preston Primary Care Trust. The mental health services went into a large specialist mental health organisation called Lancashire Care, that was being set up, very similar to Birmingham Solihull Mental Health Trust. And I was up there for probably 12 years in that role, as well as finance, doing things like estates, IT, and a whole range of other things. So I do much more than finance, but that's the name on the lid. In 2014, I moved outside of the trust. I did some interim and consultancy work for about 3 years. Then I joined Birmingham Solihull in 2017, and I've been here ever since. And it's an organisation, as Beresford's already said, one of the largest mental health trusts in the country. I get involved in an awful lot of things outside of finance, and it's really, finance is only a base to do things. And this is about people, working with people, trying to make things easy for them to understand and easy to achieve anything. Do you want any more than that, Beresford?
I think that's great, Dave, and I think that's a real good sort of foundation for us to be kicking off because, like you said, normally when we hear about finance directors, we do think about accountants and they're just there to make sure that the books are balanced, which is an important role. But then when we realise the kind of numbers that you're having to deal with and the real sort of vastness of your role, you're talking about just so people know. So we look after some 73,000 patients, Dave, as you know. We're a workforce of 4,000 and a budget of about 230 plus million. And I'm sure it's more than that.